Hello and welcome back to the ARK of E podcast. My name is Noah,
And my name is Gavin.
and we are the Blanchard brothers back with you in the new year 2025 to wrap up 2024. This is part 3 of our year in review, talking about our top 10 favorite films of 2024. Okay, brother. What a
Ooh,
year. What a year in
yeah,
film. Uh,
yeah.
this is going to be a running theme. I think that you'll probably echo. We talked about it a little bit on the TV episode, but you're a new dad, and I know you struggle to see a lot of things.
hmm
We have some guest lists later in the show from some other new dads, uh, some dads who've been in the game for a minute as well, and that has been a running theme. It's like I asked the cousins, for instance, hey, can you put together a top 10? And they were like, I got to see if I've seen 10 movies this year, but I think I can get you a list. So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that. So I'm curious what you've seen, what rose to the top, et cetera, et cetera. We should mention we're recording this on the night of the Golden Globes, which is kind of the soft kickoff to like
hmm
true award season. I took a glance at some of the winners. They haven't announced the big like film categories yet, but some of the acting winners, they do film and TV. So there's a few left to
Right.
be announced. Maybe we'll check in with that at the end of the broadcast, see how some of our, maybe some picks that are on our list are faring.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe.
but yeah, before we get into anything, I just wanted to offer a few personal caveats. We do this every single year. We are not professional critics, so we don't get screeners. We live in South Carolina to remind people we don't have access to all the movies we would like to see, unfortunately. I was actually musing with Sunshine Mayfield, whose list we'll hear later in the episode as well. If they just like gave me a portal online where it's like you pay $150 a year, and whenever award season hits, all of the screeners that like all these actors get, and directors and producers, etc., all get sent for awards consideration. Like they get sent physical copies of still. Like, just let me get the digital portal that I know exists for people as well. I'll pay for it and let me watch all this stuff. Like it would be worth it to me. It would say, most of the stuff I can't even see in my state. Like, so I'm just putting it out there.
Or do like a $20 per, but instead of renting it,
Even
you,
that,
you
even
get the you
that.
get the you get the physical Blu-ray, but it's got the watermark on the
Yes.
blank parts of the screen, so
So
they know
I
you're not
do,
going to copy it and give it to anybody. But
I,
yeah,
I do just want to say before we get into again our top 10 list, I think I have a solid at least 8 or 9 movies that are still unseen by me. Probably won't get to them until like February. But I just need to say I did not see The Brutalist.
me
I
neither.
didn't I did not see Nickel Boys. I did not see Mike Lee's Hard Truths. I did not see Sing Sing, which came out way early in the year, but played nowhere near us, like barely a release. But I am happy to see that it's, given that it's up for a bunch of awards, they're doing like a soft re-release in mid-January. So I think I will have a chance to see that one very soon. Uh, The Room Next Door, which is Pedro Almodovar's new one with Tilda and Julianne Moore. No, didn't come out anywhere near me. September 5th, which is another historical thriller that I've heard great things about. Has our boy Tommy Malto in there.
What was that about the
Sarsgaard.
Olympics?
Yeah, a lot of buzz for
Yeah.
Sarsgaard. And A Different Man with Sebastian Stan, which has been rentable on VOD, but will be coming to Max, I believe, next week. And I will say he just won Best Actor in a, I believe, musical or comedy for that
Hmm.
this evening at the Golden Globes. He, of course, also was in The Apprentice this year, which I did not see as well, which I do still want to see at some point, but hasn't been streaming anywhere. Okay, with those out of the way,
We should do like when the Oscars are done, after we've done the Arkies, we should do like a 2024 rehash and just like everything we couldn't catch up on. Did you see it and what do you think? You know,
who is your
The
daddy
f-
and what does he do?
our mom says our dad is a sex machine.
A real sex machine.
Real
Okay.
sex machine, sorry.
All right. Kindergarten Cop retro review coming at you 2025. Sometime, sometime. Okay.
I put together a list of about 15 that I saw. Of them, only three were in theaters. So a lot of streaming, a lot of by myself,
So
after everyone's
again,
gone to bed.
that is 15 movies from the calendar year 2024. New
Yes.
films
Hmm.
released in 2024.
Yeah,
15.
of them, only three were in theaters.
Okay.
But hey, what can you do, right?
So did you have 10 that you liked, or
Yeah, 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 yeah.
did you still have to like did you have to cut some down, or was it like, oh, five
Oh
of these are
no.
garbage? I'm just
No. I
curious.
mean, when I unfold it, the only ones that I've got about a few that I still need to get to that I haven't been able to, but I had a huge list of stuff. Yeah, this is my scene list. It's a bunch of stuff I saw. I saw a ton of movies this year that came out this year. I just didn't realize it because the
So
majority of what's on my list.
you have seen more than 15 films
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
from
yeah,
this
yeah.
year. Okay, that was very
I've seen
confusing.
these films, my
That
man.
was very confusing.
Yeah.
Very confusing to me. Even in this visual medium that you and I are in over
Mhm.
Zoom, I did not get that at all. So how you've seen, yeah, you have a rough count?
Um, upwards of, I mean, at least 20 that
Okay.
aren't on my top 10. So 35, 40. Yeah.
Word. Okay.
Again, the ones I remember are the ones that like me and Becky watched together. Because everyone I saw in theaters, I saw with her, obviously. But the
Right.
ones that I'm like, there's only a few on here that I'm like, she hasn't seen. Most of them she watched with me. So, yeah.
All right. Well, with that in mind, why don't you give me your number 10 favorite film of 2024?
Well, Noah, in 2024, we said goodbye to a great, great actor. He left the television show to strike it rich in the West, do his own thing. It's Horizon, an American saga, Chapter 1, directed by Mr. Boston's own himself, Kevin Costner.
Is he from Boston?
I don't know. I have no idea where he's from.
Oh, okay.
I just know he sounds the same in every single show and
All right.
everything. Because
Well,
unlike some Robin Hoods, I could speak with an English accent.
I wasn't it's not a competition. First of all, I just want to put that out there. It's not a competition. And this is because I have a problem. Now, this is not me bragging in any way, shape, or form. Of the 79 films that I saw this year, I've
Ooh, dick on the
I
table.
still I still missed Horizon. I still have not caught up with it. Mainly because I was waiting for part two to be right there for me to like roll into. And then
Hmm.
this one was not received well in the theater. They kind of like, you know, backed off on the, hey, you're getting part two later in the year. It was supposed to be like 2 months later, you get part two.
Right. Hmm.
So I don't know what's happening with that reshuffling, but I'm like, whenever part two drops, like, I'm down to take the journey and lead right into it. But
Hmm.
uh does it feel like what it's like 3 hours, 2.5 hours?
No, dude, it feels like it goes by pretty quick. Like I want to be able to watch them all together as like one big giant
Well,
saga thing, and I'm gonna be there for it. I don't care whether like if he has to go to Kickstarter to be like, let me, get the rest of this made, I'm gonna do it because
does
I know
this
he's good.
does this feel like a lot of preamble and just like table setting, or did you
Oh
feel
no, no,
like
no,
there
we're in
was
it, bro.
like
No, we're
enjoyable
oh
arcs?
no, we're
Okay.
in it. Ready to roll.
All right.
If he's gonna do like a Godfather 2 and like 2 and 3 are gonna be like backstory getting these characters here, and then 4 is gonna be the conclusion of the whole thing, I'm down for it. If we're supposed to get we're supposed to get 3 more, but like in listening to him talk about it, the idea that he's like, I already have money. I'm gonna mortgage a house. And people are like, oh my God, you mortgage your house. Like, yeah, but I got other houses. Like, I just want to get this out and get made. It's like kudos to that guy, even though, he is a big movie star. He can kind of do whatever he wants. The idea that you're like, you know what, I've done all this other stuff, but I got this thing I've been thinking about. I don't know how much of it is because he's worked on Yellowstone for years and his relationship with Taylor Sheridan, but like, I got this thing inside my head I've been kicking around for years. After I've already, won awards, I made Dances with Wolves, I did all this other stuff. Like, I still want to tell this story and I want to be in it, but I don't feel it's not heavy-handed. It doesn't feel like it's a hey, look at me project. It's like I've just had this inside me. I got to get it out. But yeah, Horizon, American Saga, Western, my number 10.
All right, yeah, 2024, the year of great American auteurs, cash it, pushing all their chips across the table to make their passion projects. And some of them hit, and some of them, actually, none of them hit.
None of them.
None of
Not a
them
goddamn
hit.
one of them.
None of them paid off. And then meanwhile, you got Todd Phillips over here just burning house money, just burning it to the fucking ground. Okay.
I love it.
All right. All right. All right. My number 10 is Reisuke Hamaguchi's Evil Does Not Exist. Caught this one on VOD, did not play near me. You might recognize his name as the director of Drive My Car, the Best Foreign Language or Best International Feature winner from a couple years ago from Japan. I believe that year that was in the 10 slot as well when I looked back
Sounds like it.
at my 2021 list. I have to say, part of the reason that it is at my 10 spot, I had a great experience with Drive My Car. Like, again, like nearly 3 hour movie, like really, you know, deep, emotional, theatrical experience. Never had a desire to rewatch it. Evil Does Not Exist, I saw, I don't know, I want to say like early summer, maybe, like
Hmm.
maybe late spring. I'm not sure, but I've only seen it once, and it has just stuck with me so long that like when I kept looking at my list, I was like, I don't know, dude. There's something about that one that's like stuck in my craw, and I want to go back to it. So, it's about a father and daughter living in a rural part of Japan, and these people arrive who are coming to basically pitch the community on setting up a like, I think they call it glamping, like
Hmm.
you know, glammed up camping where it's all, very put together and like, yes, you're interacting with nature, but there's like,
All the modern conveniences, yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
So it is just a movie that like doesn't spell anything out, doesn't really like you have no idea where it's going moment to moment.
Hmm.
There's some extremely long scenes, but it is not a long movie. It is like the exact opposite of Drive My Car. It's like razor sharp in its construction. It is also, I think, pound for pound, the most gorgeous movie I saw all year.
Hmm.
Uh, the cinematography is absolutely mind blowing. I don't want to spoil where it goes, but I also think it's kind of unspoilable because I don't quite know where it went. And that's part of what has stuck in my brain for most of the year is what was going on there? Like what was he getting at? And yeah, for that reason I'm like I it has to be up here. I cannot get it out of my head. Uh
Hmm.
yeah, other than my number one, definitely the movie that has stuck with me the most this year. Okay, your number nine, sir.
Okay, my number nine favorite film, best film of the year 2024. Uh, I kind of thought about it a little bit. Didn't know if I want to put it on here because of the recency bias, but in looking back over everything, just I go back to it. I've been thinking about it. Maybe it's the gothic horror of it all, but Nosferatu by Mr. Robert Eggers is my number nine.
All right. So you got to this one in the theater. I
Sure
think,
did.
did you catch it Christmas Day or
Day
day
after.
after? Okay.
Hmm.
So we have not spoken about this,
Or maybe it was Friday. I can't remember.
and I think uh this one might collectively, when we have all the lists like balanced out, this might be the most divisive film of the year for the staff.
Hmm.
Not quite like critically or with audiences, it's done quite well. What'd you what'd you like about it? What'd you enjoy about Robert Eggers' Nosferatu?
I This is gonna be really stupid. I like that they gave Count Orlok a mustache as like a little bitty thing, a little nod.
Spoilers, spoilers. I'm
I
just
don't.
kidding. Go
If
ahead, go ahead.
you didn't see it, you didn't see it. It's 2025. Get over yourself.
Can't,
No, but seriously, I like that they gave him a Russian like Vladimir, Vlad the Impaler mustache. Never like knowing what Max
I
Shrek
imme
did in the 2020. sorry, the 22 version, the 1922 version, like just the complete departure, but also, oh, it's there of that original character. Like I showed Becky the silent film stuff. She goes, well, that's not scary. I was like, well, yeah, but you're also living in 2024. That's 100 years ago. No one's ever seen it. No one's ever knew. Like they probably thought that guy was a
Did
real guy
did
and not
did you
like there was
then
some.
show her train arriving at the station and explain to her that like people used to run out of the theater because they
Yes,
thought it wasn't
this
gonna
was
stop? Like
yes,
that's the what we were dealing with, the level
right,
of like audience intelligence at the
yeah,
time. Like,
right.
let's put this in perspective, please.
This is about the time they started to wash their hands before they did a lot of stuff. Okay.
Okay. So, yes, let's talk about the stash. Because as soon as I saw, they made a big to-do about we're not going to show him in the trailer. And I was like, dude, that's great. I'm genuinely
Perfect.
like, I loved that you couldn't catch a glimpse of him until you sat down in that theater. And it's part of what made me go see it first out of the three big holiday releases, other than the
Hmm.
fact that it was the one I was most excited for.
Hmm.
But I got to be honest, dude, when they showed the stash, I was like, dude, what an interesting choice for the
Hmm.
intro, because he's like, maybe he's going to be doing like a slightly different character and then he'll reveal himself. And I was like, okay, well, that didn't happen. Then I was like, but surely, like, when he goes into town, like, dude's going to clean up, right? Nah, dude, committed to the bit,
Hmm.
100%. Uh, yeah, very much. I immediately was like thinking Rasputin, which apparently
Exact. Yeah.
he
Exact. Yeah.
wants to make a Rasputin movie. Uh, I ultimately came away from it feeling like it was uh, inarguably like pretty, quote unquote, to look at, like
Hmm.
beautifully decayed and like
Oh
gross
yeah.
and all of that sort of stuff, but ultimately kind of hollow to the point where I was, me personally, after hearing like, oh, I've been wanting to make this for decades. It's like, it's my passion project. Like, finally get to execute it with a huge budget and like all this fanfare. We're releasing it on Christmas. And I just kind of sat there wondering, like, okay, in all that time, like, did you develop a take on the material? Because it kind of just felt like some things were very much like, okay, I have so much fealty to the 22 version, and in a lot of cases, the Herzog 79 version as well.
Hmm.
Like, very much so. But then also, there's things that I was just like, well, dude, you didn't even bother with like him putting himself in the coffin and like having the carriage take him out, like arriving off the boat in the dead of night, like carrying his coffin, like iconic imagery in both of
Hmm.
those
Right.
earlier like versions. And he doesn't even touch it. And then the things that he does dwell on, like for instance, again, full spoilers for Nosferatu. We got to get into it a little bit. The Aaron Taylor Johnson and Emma Corrin characters,
Hmm.
I as it was happening in the theater, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, these are characters that are not explored really with any sort of depth in either prior, like Nosferatu.
Hmm.
And they do obviously have a lot more to them in Dracula, for instance, like
Right.
those extended characters around it. It's Mina, right? Is it Mina
It's
Harker?
Mina, Mr.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Percy.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
All these different people. Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then ultimately, all I came away with was, again, once again, spoilers, last time I'm going to say it. I felt like the only reason you beefed up those parts at all was to slightly justify when you just straight up murder two kids for shock value, like before we head into the third act of the movie, which felt completely unearned. And like, again, just kind of like, hey, this is fucked up, isn't it? And I'm like, it feels like the only reason it's there is to add body count to a movie that doesn't already have it. Also, he's doing jump scares all of a sudden, which I didn't really go for. It's not really like part of what I think of as part of his repertoire. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of that in this. Uh, you and I did we had a very lengthy conversation, I think multiple conversations about The Idol. Lily Rose Depp just like, I'm sorry, dude. She's no Isabel and Johnny. Like she doesn't have it for me personally, particularly in a period piece. I it did I don't know. I couldn't go there.
Would
Highlights.
you switch
Sorry.
her if you had to, would you switch the two? Her and Emma
Swap her
Corrin?
and Emma Corrin.
Yeah.
I would, yeah,
I thought about
for
that
sure.
afterwards. I was like, you know what? Just because like having watched her The Crown and then Murder at the End of the World and then all the stuff she's been, I was like, okay, like and it's nothing against Olivia Rose Depp. It's just it's one of those where I'm
And
like,
again, I don't like we talked about The Idol. I don't think she's a bad actress
no,
at
no,
all.
no.
I'm not saying that. I just personally think the period piece setting or whatever, I don't know. People talk about the like the cell phone face thing where it's just like that person has seen a cell phone. I know they have.
Yeah.
You just like can't get it out of your head. I don't know. There's something about I just it felt more like performative than anything. I could not get like lost in it, and so much of the movie kind of relies on you doing that. At the same time, again, I thought it was gorgeous to look at. I really, I mean, Willem Dafoe.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
When am I not having a good time? When am I not?
Yeah.
Uh, Holt, I enjoyed. Like again, just some of the choices were baffling to me. And I went in like totally game for it. I was like, dude, this is a home run. Like this is easily in my top 10. And I left with it like way down on my list. But Mayfield's a huge fan. You're obviously a huge fan. I'll go
Hmm.
ahead and spoil a bit of Patrick's list. It's on his worst list. He gave me a five worst list. He
Yikes.
was not a fan either. I'm curious. You mentioned you watched the 22 version.
I didn't watch it. Like I showed her the end of it, and be like, "This is what you're up against in that last sequence." She was like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay." But I've
Okay.
seen the 22 version.
Did you revisit the Herzog version prior?
No, I have not. I
Okay.
forgot about that one.
See, and I will fully admit, and I said this to Mayfield at the time because we were pretty like divided on it. I am fully down when this hits streaming to try and give it like another shot.
Hmm.
But I did the movie no favors because I watched 22 and 79 within like 4 days prior to going to see this. And so I was Nosferatu the fuck out by the time I really should not have done that in retrospect. I should have gone and seen this for what it was and then refreshed on, you know, which I think is what Patrick decided to do was go reverse order, watch the Herzog afterwards, and then go all the way back to 22 after you've seen the new one. And I was like, that was probably way fucking smarter. I should have done that.
Yeah,
But
but I
yeah,
mean, I don't know. There's a lot of it that's like,
I do want to ask, where does it sit for you in Eggers overall? Because I think everybody is kind of like, this is still my least favorite. Even if you liked it, I think everybody's a little bit like, yeah, but I don't know. But where does it sit for you? Maybe you felt differently.
I mean, I don't know. I could have swore that when he stopped at the village with the gypsies, I was like, yo, this is some of the sets from the Northman, isn't it? Like they use this shit. They burned this village down in the Northman, right? In my head, but I was like, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know where it sits with me with him. I would. That's what I want to do. Is I want my next Halloween. I want to be able to just sit down and just have all of his stuff. Not even Halloween, just like next year, I want to sit down and just watch all of his stuff, like back to back to back, and then I can tell you, I like this one, I like that one, because like I've watched Northman several times, but I don't want to say it's my favorite of his because like I really like The Witch, and I really like this, and I don't know, I just appreciate. That's what I was trying to tell Becky when we left. I was like, did you notice how when they sat down, the fire had like the weird glow behind it. I was like, and then like there were some scenes where like the candles on the wall had a weird glow around them. She was like, yeah, I was like, that's my favorite part about Robert Eggers. If you're in 1850, whatever, you're only going to use light sources that they had. She's like, well, it was pretty fucking dark. I was like, yeah, it was probably dark to you, but like I could see a lot because I watch movies to for that. I said I hated that because that was the thing. Is after Christmas, I was trying to go just like, you know, chill out, turn my mind off, but like seeing that, knowing that it's one of his movies, I was getting so caught up in like, oh, that's dope that they did it that way. Like, I don't know how they got that shot, but that's awesome. Like, he had a great DP. He's got a great eye. The DP's got a great eye. The lighting guy's got a great eye to use these like, you know, prime sources of light that would only had existed in that time. And I think that's
I
the thing I appreciate about him through everything he's done is like, it's going to be period perfect as best he can be. I probably would have liked this a lot more had they all been speaking German and I had to read subtitles. I thought that would have been dope. That, if there's a cut that exists of that,
Yeah, okay.
that would be great.
I'm sorry, but yes, Mr. Robert Eggers, who's like, oh well, the reason he has a mustache is because it would be historically accurate for a count at the time to have it. And I'm like all this like I want to bring this historical accuracy, and he's like, oh, the reason they stake the vampire to the ground, the gypsies and everything, uh, the reason they stake him to the ground with a metal stake is because that's how they used to do it back in the day to people they actually thought were vampires. Like it's historically researched, all this different stuff. Okay. And then I'm like, but all of that, all of that, like historical accuracy for a story that is naturally fantastical, where I'm just like, I kind of want to see you just like go wild with it in the way that I feel like the lighthouse is unencumbered by any sort of like, oh, we've got to tell a conventional like narrative that everyone is expecting. It is, and that's why it's my favorite. But I agree with you, like on a technical level, like the attention to detail, all of that. Yes, it is sumptuous. I guess I just want going forward a little bit more like meat on the bones. I just don't feel like it's fully there.
Completely pun intended. I get it.
Yes. Uh, that being said, I guess like yeah, I would have wanted this one to be even more wild and like fucking crazy. And again, I was like, there's in doing this for a second time, you know, another adaptation. It's like why why not go hog wild with stuff that is kind of vaguely unexplored where I'm like, dude, spend some time on the boat. Nobody remembers that last Voyage of the Demeter movie from last year. I'm like, dude,
Yeah, dude, I totally remember it. I
it,
heard Sir Davos was like one of the main dudes. I don't know the guy's
okay.
name.
All right. Well, we got to
But
get
yeah.
off of Nosferatu. But yeah, I wish it was higher for me. It's still like a, like a 7.5 out of 10.
Mhm.
I think I was all the more let down because again, I thought this was about to be a home run and just a little bit of a whiff for me personally.
Well, again, we reserve the right to
Gavin's
find
number
some other
9.
stuff, and we could come back, and if there's anything that we watched that we haven't been able to get to after the Oscars, we come back and say, hey, you know what, my list is unchanged, or hey, you know what, I changed my number nine to something else. Who knows?
Absolutely. Okay.
Your number
My
nine,
number
please.
my number 9. Waited a long time for this one. Long, long time. Rebel Ridge. Jeremy Saulnier's latest on Netflix. Is this did you catch this one?
Oh, I caught it, but I didn't put it on my list because I knew it would be right there on yours.
Okay. I thought maybe I was gonna have to table it. Uh,
No, we can talk about it.
this of course it made quite the splash on Netflix. I think it's
Oh yeah.
pretty well seen, thankfully, after all this time. Uh, Obviously, long gestating project, a lot of false starts, a lot of like, oh shit, we had to go back and reshoot half the movie because of COVID delays, actors leaving, etc. All sorts of every bad thing that can happen to a movie happened to this movie. And so I was kind of just like, dude, if this is like, kind of more hold the dark, like, you know, solid, but I don't love it, I'll be okay with that. That'll be all right. And then he just comes in and I'm like, no, dude, I don't know how after all this time, like it came out like, oh, you guys had problems doing this? This was a tough shoot. Like, it looks like you just fucking made exactly the movie you wanted to make. Uh,
Hmm.
an absolutely astounding lead performance from Aaron Pierre. If we're doing our Arkies nominees, he's in my 5. He's got to be
Okay.
up there. He's got to
Yeah.
be up there. Uh, Sorry, but again, I think pretty widely seen. If you haven't seen it, the short pitch, it's kind of First Blood with a twist. Uh, Guy's in a small town, he's trying to just help out his cousin.
Cousin. Yep.
Yeah, trying to help out his cousin, runs afoul of the local law enforcement, and he's got to take care of business, but takes care of business in a very interesting and specific way that I don't think we've really seen in a movie. Uh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. You got Don Johnson in there as the heavy.
Hmm.
Them going toe to toe is fantastic. Great dialogue. And again, Jeremy Saulnier, a genre filmmaker that refuses to make movies that have no brain, that don't have something on their mind. He always is like, nope, I'm like, I can't just make, I can't dumb it down. I'm sorry. I gotta put shit that is gonna like really make you think in here. And to do again, First Blood, but basically about civil asset forfeiture. I
Hmm.
don't know how you make that work as a dramatic, compelling movie, but he did it, and I was glued to the screen the whole time. My only regret, it was on Netflix and not in a theater. Wish I could have seen it on the big screen. Uh, Huge win for me. But like I said, waited a long time. Totally worth the wait. Rebel Ridge, my number nine.
All right. Which leads me to my number eight. It's actually available now on Peacock, but my number eight was Conclave.
Go right ahead. Tell us about Conclave, yeah.
Oh, so basically, as we all know, anybody who's not living under a rock, anytime the Pope dies, you gotta have a conclave that basically just sits there and votes on who's going to be the next Pope. And essentially, this is, I don't know, it's like a political thriller over who's going to be the next Pope. Is it going to be,
Are you
this
gonna get
one
a
kid?
touch of the Tooch? Are you
Yeah,
gonna get
get a little bit of
a
Javier
little third?
Bardem.
You gonna get? He's not in there.
What?
Bardem's not in there.
I thought he was in this movie.
He is not in Conclave.
Who am I thinking of that was the, I swear to God, that his name was listed in there.
Check out your cast list there, brother.
Who am
Okay.
I?
Well, this was going to be a really fun riff, and then I was going to be like, you get a little third rock from the sun. You know,
Lithgow is amazing in it, yes. Who am I thinking? Who's the other guy that's. Oh, I swear to God, Am I thinking of. What? No, that's not who I'm thinking of.
you better say a name quick.
Oh, Sister Avis is Sergio Castelli. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was. I'm thinking of something else.
The one who's always vaping, the big like the big fat cardinal that's always vaping.
No, I could have swore there was a guy in there that was like, yeah, I guess it's him. He's the traditionalist one that's like, he's going to take everything back. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
the
thought it
most
was him.
conservative of all of them. No, that
Where
is
do I
not
know?
Javier Bardem. I don't know.
He looked, the way they had him in makeup, I was like, that's got to be him.
He gave me
But it,
flashes of John Carpenter's Vampires,
yeah,
the
okay,
cardinal,
I could
yeah.
see that. Anyway, yeah, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, but you get all these
And
different.
of course, Ray Fiennes is the
Who
lead.
has to?
I don't
He
think we
has to.
mentioned that.
Yes, he's the lead. Old Ralph Tickets. He has to. It's like it's on him. The Pope's like, he left it that he's got to be the one, to basically run this whole thing, to figure out who's who. There's a dark horse candidate out of nowhere who like they basically like said he was part of like the church, but because the congregation and the church and all that was in like Afghanistan in a war zone. It wasn't actually like known to anybody but the Pope, which that comes back into play, obviously. Um, but it's like this really just like, what do we know? What do we don't know? It's got Gangs of London, the father guy. I can't think of his name. He's making a bid for it. The Black Cardinal. There's all this stuff. I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
Um, and it's basically just this like tight like you keep hearing these little things of like, well, I heard this
you don't
about him, well, I don't know this
you
about
don't
him.
have
It's
to go through
amazing.
the whole plot of the film for
Well,
everybody.
no, I'm not
I
going through the
just
whole thing. I'm just saying that that's the beauty of it is like my the one thing I'll say about it, which is just perfect. We've talked about Stanley Tucci enough. He spends literally like the first, I don't know, good half of the movie being like, I don't want this. This is not for me. And the minute the vote is against him, he's like, what are you doing? You're going to ruin this for me. And I was like, that's why this guy's perfect. He plays it so perfectly that he doesn't want this thing. And then the minute that the vote doesn't go anywhere near him, it's like, what are you doing to me? This is the only way we're going to do this. Why aren't you on my side? I'm like, well, bro, you just said you didn't want this whole thing. But that's acting. That's the beauty of it. He's so perfect. I love him. He's probably my favorite in this, next to Ralph Tickets. But yeah,
okay. Uh Saw it in theater, didn't work for me.
why
Didn't work
not?
for me. Uh a lot of reasons and truth be told, so this had been out for a couple weeks.
Hmm.
I didn't go see it immediately. I wanted to. I was hearing great things about it. I think I saw this like a day or two after the election. And
Okay.
I'd be lying if I said that didn't kind of temper my reaction to it, where I was like,
Okay.
this movie's pretty fucking naive. This is a like, pretty rose-colored look at like, you know,
Catholicism.
no, not even specifically Catholicism, but the whole electoral process, all of that, because it's obviously it's trying to mirror like our own, our own shit. And while of course I know the movie wasn't conceived like, I think it's based on a play, if I'm not mistaken, that was written
Yeah, I think
in
yeah.
20, I
That's
think it
what
was
it's
written
all
in 2016. Like it's, it's a couple years removed. But anyways, uh, it was hard not to bring that back. Sometimes it's the mood you're in when you go into a movie, and I'd be lying if I said my mood didn't affect that one. So I think undeniably, like I enjoyed the performances. I liked it. Like I thought it was good. I didn't not think it was a bad movie, but overall, I kind of left and I was like, yeah, you lost me with like the overall kind of like here's our final statement. I was like, no, didn't play for me. I
Do
know a
you
lot
think
of
things would be
people.
better if that's how we did politics? Like we just locked everybody in the Senate until they like pick somebody? Do you think that would be better, or do you think it's better that we all get a vote, quote
Have
unquote?
you? I mean, I know we're not doing TV, and I know it didn't make the list or come up at all last episode. But have you watched any of Squid Game season two?
I did, yeah.
Did you watch all of it?
Yeah, I watched it all.
I was gonna say I think maybe the voting in that is where we might be headed.
Yes, that'd be perfect, dude. I would
And you
love that.
and you have to wear a patch afterwards, and you literally
Uh-huh.
have to tell everybody.
Uh-huh. No, you
Uh,
gotta like you get the day off work and you gotta go to your district and you can't leave until everybody in your district comes and votes.
yeah.
I'll be hanging out at Hillcrest all day waiting on people to come vote. We
So
all
yeah,
get to see what everybody looks like.
I highly recommend uh Conclave. It's up for a lot of things. I think it's incredibly well shot. It's the guy
Hmm.
who did All Quiet on the Western Front from last year, which I did not see, but
That
uh
was good.
I
I watched
think
that.
like what it's doing with interiors or whatever and keeping you engaged in again what is essentially just a chamber drama and just like characters talking in rooms. I think it's like it looks so much better than it needs to. And yeah, there's a lot I liked about it, but ultimately, you know, not one of my faves from this year. But it's in like the top 40,
Yeah.
top 40. Uh, alrighty, moving right along. Where is Conclave actually? I'm curious.
It's in the Vatican.
Number 48, just below Mac.
Oh,
Well,
just
never mind. I don't want to step on titles. I don't want to step
no,
on
go ahead.
titles.
No, just what were the last two? What was 49 and 50? Just go ahead and give it to me.
You got to know 49 and 50.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
right
two?
after them, it was,
Yeah.
it's just,
48.
it's Conclave is 48,
Uh-huh.
just above The Piano Lesson, another movie that I quite liked. I thoroughly enjoyed on Netflix. Uh, and Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F at the 50 slot.
Okay.
Hey, I like that movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I enjoyed it. All right. I thought I was safe with those, but the one right above it might pop up, might come up somewhere. Okay. My number eight, going back to Netflix once again for another movie that I wish I could have seen in a theater. And another one of my like all-time favorite filmmakers, Richard Linklater's Hitman, starring man of the moment, Mr. Glenn Powell.
I didn't see this one yet. I saw
Well,
Twisters. I didn't see this one yet.
this one I will dance around, but it is loosely, extremely loosely based on a true story uh, about a guy who basically poses as a hitman,
Hmm.
uh, as kind of like it's essentially like an entrapment sting sort of thing, but you get people who are desperate or whatever to, you know, and are looking for a hired gun,
Hmm.
and then you show up and like get them to like, oh, this is premeditated murder, okay, and all right, and so Glenn Powell finds himself in the circumstances where all of a sudden he is, thrust into performing as several different characters. It's incredibly entertaining, and it's everything that the trailer has you believing that the movie's going to be, which is kind of a fun romp for about the first 15 to 20 minutes. And then you're like, oh, okay. This
Hmm.
movie has several more gears and becomes really like a one of the more fascinating movies I've seen about identity and just like the way we perform in everyday life, who we choose to be to certain people. There's a lot of shit going on in here. Adria Arjona is the co-star, who is also pretty fantastic. And another movie that I think I can safely say maybe probably won't come up because I don't know if you caught it. Did you see Blink twice?
No.
Uh, Movie I quite liked a bit. Zoe Kravitz
Oh,
debut.
that's the one with Channing. It's like about Diddy or whatever.
Epstein's Island.
Epstein,
It,
Diddy, same thing.
it's Epstein's Island,
Yeah.
essentially. Yes.
Hmm.
But
But he's he's dead, so we can't talk about him.
anyways, Adria Arjona is in that as well. Uh, she was kind of a new find this year where I was like, oh, definitely gonna like check out anything she does in the future. And again, Glenn Powell is being like was more celebrated widely for Twisters this year, but I'm like the movie where it's like, no, this is the guy, like this truly is the guy, is Hitman. You need to see Hitman.
Did he do something? He had another one out too. Did he have three out this year, or is it just that? Just the two?
So Anyone But You, the one with
That's the
Sydney
other one I'm thinking of.
Sweeney,
That's what
was
I'm thinking of.
tail end of last year, if I'm not
Okay,
mistaken. Yeah.
gotcha.
Uh, so yeah, if you have Netflix, Hitman, huge recommend. And again, Richard Linklater, like never ever disappoints, man.
No, very, very
Uh,
rarely.
Like what a hit ratio.
Yeah,
Other than the Newton boys, name a bad one.
I'm
Name a
not even
bad
gonna
one.
say. I'm not even gonna say the Newton Boys is bad. It's good to look at them all before they were big names,
But
just
I'm
to watch them as babies. So it's
and
not that bad.
and I'll say like Bad News Bears was unnecessary,
Yeah,
but I didn't hate it.
well, sometimes you gotta do one for them.
But
Just
other
to
than
do.
that, I'm like one of the more impeccable track records for somebody who works as often as he does.
Oh yeah.
It's like him and Soderbergh in terms of like the quality to quantity ratio.
Hmm.
Just they got it dialed in, man.
They make films and movies.
Exactly. And they know how to do both simultaneously.
Exactly.
Dude, Soderbergh is about to drop two movies
I
in
know.
less than a month of each other.
You told me he was done
Oh
though. You
my
said he was
God.
done years ago. Everyone said he was done
Dude, he's
years
quit
ago.
like three times. I hope he keeps quitting.
Me too.
Just keep on quitting, Stevie. Okay. Little Stevie Soates. Okay. Your number seven? Is that what we're doing?
Yes. My number seven.
This is a long one. We already had
Yeah.
the interruption where there was a possible intruder in the house.
You can cut that out, I'm sure. Do it in post.
Oh, no, I'm gonna leave it all the dead silence. I'm leaving it in there.
Okay. Cool. My number seven favorite movie this year. Um, I don't know why I watch this guy's movies, dude. It's I know when I'm watching one of his fucking Kinds of Kindness.
Okay.
Like what the
Okay.
I have never I laughed I've not laughed harder than anything this year than the end of that movie. I had to make sure that no one
The
was
very
home. Like I would
okay.
just the
No,
very end of
okay.
the last vignette.
Nobody
Not
saw this movie, so please don't spoil it for them.
I'm
But
not.
you're
You know what
you're
I'm talking about.
the very ending of the
The
third segment.
dance, the dance, and
Oh,
then
okay.
the
Yeah.
credit sequence. I
What
have not,
happens right afterwards?
I
Okay.
have
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
laughed harder than that any time in the movie than that. I've been. It was just
Okay.
what the fuck, dude? Like, what the
So,
hell is this guy doing? What
uh,
kind of drugs is Yorgi doing?
zero, presumably. I don't. Okay, so
Okay.
nobody saw this movie, which is crazy because again, coming off of Poor Things, which was like the most unlikely like awards darling of last year, given the subject matter and the content, frankly. And I was just like, okay, people are fully on board. And what I love is my boy came back. I was just like, sometimes you just gotta remind them how fucking weird you are, because I like
You guys see my freak flag?
overall,
See how high it's flying right now? You not
overall,
watching?
I had I had a pretty great time across the 2.5 hours watching this movie.
Oh my God.
However, like I still like I don't know if I quite made heads or tails of it in the way that like some of his movies are like rather abstract or like you kind of have to sit with for a little bit. But at the same time, like you said, consistently, dude, I all Plemons throughout, but Plemons in the first section
Oh
had
my
me
God, dude.
absolutely dying as well. I kind of want to go back and rewatch it because I feel like maybe if I broke it
No,
up.
no, no,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
no, no.
Okay.
The second segment. The second segment where he's like, my wife is gone. Do you guys mind if we watch a movie just to like feel better about it? And it is the movie that they watch. I thought I was gonna die then. But I swear to God, still the end of that third segment, I laughed even harder than that because I'm just picture. You got to picture it, Noah. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
I've washed every bottle in the house. The dishwasher's going. It's just me. I'm on my phone watching it with an earbud just because I'm not trying to make any extra noise. And I'm trying to police myself with what I am trying to like. I am dying, but I'm trying not to make any noise laughing and not hit anything or nothing, which is how ridiculous that was. The opening of that second vignette. Yes, he was great in the first one, but I love the second one with him, the character he plays, even more. It was so fucking ridiculous.
Yes. I definitely want to revisit it. Uh yeah, I don't know where I can. I think because again of the vignette structures, like some of them worked for me better than others. So I was like, well, I kind of wanted all to feel like, hell yeah, I loved all three of these, and I can't remember which ones I was kind of, and I feel like it was parts of them. So this
Yeah.
is streaming on Hulu. Huge recommend, but with a giant warning that like it's probably easily the strangest and most out there movie you will see this year. Um, some intense violence and a lot of sexuality and nudity. So if that's not your bag, maybe peace out at Kinds of Kindness. But if that's got you excited, and the fact that we literally have not told you anything about the movie, other
Oh
because
yeah,
I
and
don't again I don't know
I
what
don't
to
know what to
tell
tell you. Yeah.
other
It's got
than
it's got
give it a shot. Emma Stone, Jesse
Emma Stone,
Plemons, Willem Dafoe, three segments. The actors
and
reoccur.
what's her face? Jack Antonoff's wife. I can't think of her name right now.
Margaret Qualley.
That's who it is. Yeah,
Yes.
she was great in all of them. I love.
Okay,
Was
we
she a
can't wait.
cheer? We could go do. We just all right. You need to rewatch it. I need to rewatch it, and then we need to come back and just see if we can figure out
Where are
what the
you?
hell is going on.
So I don't know that you and I have ever really talked that much about Yorgos Lanthimos as a director, but like, did you
No.
watch Poor Things last year?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Fucking
I
ridiculous.
couldn't remember,
I mean, I
but
get
like,
why it came out of nowhere and like won all the awards it did, but at the same time, I'm like, how do you
you saw
how do you get
Sacred
people to,
Deer, you saw
yeah,
Lobster. Okay.
yeah, how do you it's like how do you get people to give you how do you get money for this? Do you just have it? Like how do you
Well,
get people to give you
Emma Stone's a producing partner on all
right,
this.
but like
Yeah.
but even for that, I'm just like, I mean, the deer and the lobster, those are like films. Those are like really good films. This is a good movie. It could be a great film. I don't know. I gotta watch it again. But right now, it's a really good movie.
Like I said, I feel like this was just like a, hey, before everybody gets too comfortable with me, let me get fucking freaky for a minute. And he has another one like right on the heels of it, another one with Emma Stone
Hmm.
that comes out this year. I can say this year now. I keep forgetting we're in
Yeah.
2025, which I believe is called Begonia. So we'll see how that goes. I'm so happy you had it on your list. Again, a movie that I I really liked, but it's my 39. But like I saw a lot of good movies this year that I really enjoyed. Moving way back up the list to my number seven, Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. Nothing from Brother. Okay.
Nope.
This, of course, is the tennis drama, erotic thriller. Yeah. Starring Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor. The latter two of which were like the big discoveries for me from it. Did you watch this one? No,
No.
no feelings. Okay. It is on Prime, I believe, at the moment.
I've seen it on there. I just haven't watched it.
It's come up a few times throughout the year, mainly in relation to its score, which is phenomenal. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, we've talked about it. gets the people going. But the thing that really I the thing I like about the movie is I think it is easily his most accessible. You can kind of come at it from a lot of different angles. It functions as a sports movie. It's got some of the best tennis sequences I've ever seen on film, arguably like probably the best tennis ever put on camera. So it's got the sports drama thing going on. It's got a love triangle at the center of it. So you got just good, high stakes drama there. But the thing that I really keyed into, especially on a second viewing, was I was like, this feels like a new midlife crisis movie where it's people like a midlife crisis movie for a new generation, essentially, which is like, okay, ours are happening like 10 years earlier because everything feels like it's fucking ending. So it's a bunch of people in their 30s looking back at like their late teens, early 20s and questioning like their life choices thus far, where they're at, and a lot of other things. But it ping pongs back and forth through time, basically the structure of a tennis match, the way it echoes that, like in the editing and everything. It's a form, content, all that good stuff. It's also just like it's juicy. It keeps you engaged the whole time. It's good. It's like one of the most highly entertaining movies I saw all year. An absolute blast in the theater, and held up on a rewatch at home as well. So I highly recommend Challengers if you didn't see it.
Okay.
All right, your number six.
I mean, every time the man comes out with a movie, I gotta go watch it, whether people say it's good or not. My number six, The Bike Riders. Not on your list, I know.
Yeah, oh,
Maybe,
it's
maybe
on my list.
number
Let's
27.
let's talk about it. Okay, so this is another case. Jeff Nichols, guy we
Yes.
both love, and kind of arguably waiting a long time for this one. Kind of in the Saulnier camp. Like
Hmm.
I was and very excited to see it. Saw it in
Hmm.
the theater. Uh, I got I got a big old issue. But what did you like about it? It's on your list.
I I don't know. It's one of those where like it's I don't know. I don't know if it's Tom Hardy's accent that I like the most, or just the shift you can see kind of coming because like not knowing much because I don't ride a motorcycle, but you can very clearly see that like the big thing in the room that is the big equalizer, the big difference maker. They don't really like um Michael Shannon gives the best commentary about it, and it's not talked up that much, but it kind of is that like that thing that people talk about as like the big shift with motorcycling culture. Um, and it's just I like that it's her perspective. We're talking to um Benny's wife the entire time. It's focused around her and just kind of her like her recollection of it. And it's like, oh, you wouldn't believe this and this and this and that. And it's like, well, if you talk to anybody else, there's probably a lot different story going on here, but we're getting it from a third party essentially, a wife of a club member, not a club
So
member club member.
just side note, okay, so that's Jodie Comer, who's
Mhm.
fantastic in the movie.
Yeah.
Arguably, like along with Tom Hardy, the best part of it.
Yes.
The interviewer doing like writing the book,
Hmm.
that's Mike Feist, part of the love triangle in
Oh,
Challengers.
okay.
So another reason for you to check it out.
Cool.
I think again manages to stand out in the bike riders and amidst a pretty formidable ensemble. Here's my big problem. The movie for me has a giant void at the center of it, and it's an Austin Butler shaped void. I He doesn't have it for me, man. The guy doesn't have the juice. He can
Okay.
stand there, he can pose, and he can look like James Dean, but I see nothing going on below the surface. I just, ugh, it frustrated me because I feel like Tom Hardy is crushing it, Jodie Comer is crushing it, and I just kept thinking the whole time there's a way to just tilt this narrative like a little in either direction because there's a very key character who's not really revealed. You don't think it's a part of this until a good ways into the movie. And that's kind of the young upstart, where they pass through a town. We see these kind of local hoods, and they see the bikers roll through, and you see like, oh shit, they kind of get inspired. And I thought that was going to be it. I thought we are going to leave it there, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we come back to this kid, and I'm like, okay, this is very interesting. I was like, all right. And without spoiling where it goes, but like that character is built up as the generational tension of where this
Mm-hmm.
is all headed.
Right.
The trailer and the movie I was pitched based on that trailer is I thought it was Austin Butler and Tom Hardy going head to head for the idealistic control of this club. That's what I thought we were getting. That's not this movie at all. This movie is Tom Hardy being in love with this guy who he doesn't quite understand and kind of wants to be more a part of this thing. And the other guy who's just kind of like, well, I just want to be a free spirit. And it's like, well, isn't that the kind of like true spirit that they're all aspiring to? Because you see that like Tom Hardy is not the classic like what you think of as the open road biker and everything. Like he has a family, he has a kid. This is like a partly a persona that he's putting on. Like all of those elements. That stuff is really rich and interesting. I'm just literally like, recast Butler as that kid, as the young upstart, make it an antagonistic relationship, and then they have something to play. I just was kind of like Benny as kind of a central character, even though it's this idealized, remembered version through her perspective, which I agree is an interesting like way to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because you
I
don't ever see Benny when it's like, oh, he quit riding, we moved to Florida. You don't see that Benny. And if you just show me that Benny as somebody not Austin Butler, like a different dude, I'd have been like, okay, I get it. You remember Benny as this gorgeous guy, the James Dean type that like was nice to you, but also like would die for his cut and like die for his club. And so now I got to burn a bar down, whatever. Like y'all remember him that way, but Benny really wasn't that dude. And Benny tells you the entire movie, I'm not that dude.
yeah,
It's not me. It's never gonna be me. And that's why I don't have a problem with Austin Butler because he's just there as like again, wants to be a free spirit, wants to ride, doesn't want the rules and stuff. When he sees like the links that like what's his face wants to go to like run the club, he's just like, no, I don't want to be
I
anywhere near
just
this,
I just feel like there was so many other interesting things going on around the periphery. For instance, like the Michael Shannon character, who I do feel like still does get like a great monologue or two. Like there's these great moments here and there, but I honestly I wanted to spend more time with the crew. I also wanted a little bit more of like a road movie feel. I never
Hmm.
got the sense that we were like moving across the country or moving through like time and space. It really just kind of felt like, well, we drove from one empty field to another empty field. And maybe that's how it was, but I guess I just wanted more variety of like a sense of again, I don't know. I wanted things the movie clearly was
Now,
not interested in
well,
giving
oh,
me. I you know,
do you think it would have been better if they didn't base this off an actual club? If they hadn't based it off the Vandals, if they had based it off of just like a fake club and you could play around with more of like the dynamics of what's
well
what, or do you think that
from
trying to
what
tell the story?
from what I understand, like so there are some obviously composite characters, but what I was surprised to learn was that the Benny character is a real dude, like
Hmm.
very much so. And the commitment to kind of like presenting how stuff is presented in the book, which is like not a lot of like depth or detail. It's more the surface like image, you know, projection of people. Again, a movie that I liked, I did not love, and I was like, this is one of my guys. This is Nichols doing great material. I want to love this. There's also just a few things in it that felt like studio notes or something to me, where I was
Right.
just like, you're a subtle guy. You've always been a subtle guy. There's a few things in there that just felt like the screenplay, like I just was like, that's not in your screenplay. That's somebody going like, hey,
Yeah, it was a couple punch ups. Yeah.
we need to spell this out. Uh, I also, I'm sorry, again, no spoilers, but one of the most telegraphed, all right, well, we know how this movie's ending I've ever seen. Hey, honey, can you get the milk? Don't forget to get some milk on the way home. Oh, of course, babe. I got you.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
dude, I'm sorry. I'm like, that is one of those cliches that needs to be taken out back and shot. I was laughing in the theater. Like, anyways,
Yeah.
okay. D- I hope that I have something on my list that you have a problem with because I feel like I'm beating up on you.
No, I mean, look, I'm a dad now. I can take it. These are dad movies. What can I
Like I
say?
like I deal with shit all day. I can take it.
I've changed I've changed 3 diapers today that had giant amounts of shit in them with a child that does nothing but like wants to squirm around. I can handle it. It's fine.
My number six, if you've seen it, might be one that we can happily get on board about. I don't know. It is streaming, I believe, on Peacock. DD.
Nope.
Do you have any awareness of this one?
Vaguely. Like
Okay.
I've
Uh,
seen the ability to watch it on something. Might have
it,
been on Amazon for pay, and now it's on a Peacock for
I believe
to
it is
watch.
on Peacock for people that want to check it out. This is the narrative feature film debut from Sean Wang, uh, who had an Oscar-nominated short last year and has mostly worked in documentary up until now. But this is a like loosely autobiographical tale of his, I guess, middle school years, like headed into high school, and it's set like early 2000s. It's one of those kind of like Pen 15 that I talked about recently, where it's like
Which we did.
it's just close enough. Sorry, go ahead.
Did I tell you that we went and watched that while we were like? That's one of the things we watched while we were here with Mav.
It
Was we
never
went through Pin
it
15?
did you love it? Is it one of your
Yeah,
was it
yeah,
one
of
of your
course.
favorites? Okay, I was just
Yeah.
making sure. Yeah. So in that same vein of like capturing a period of time that like you and I, maybe it doesn't hit our exact age range, but like it's in the span where it's like, dude, I remember all of this shit, you know?
Hmm.
So in capturing a time period, a vibe, what it feels like when you're young, and also um, having a great adult perspective on it too, which is provided by Joan Chen, who people will know from Twin Peaks, the original run of Twin Peaks, as Josie Packard.
Oh wow. Okay.
So she is the mom, and that's kind of my like super underrated. Wish it got more consideration for supporting actress this year. I thought she was phenomenal.
Hmm.
But yeah, just a great coming of age story. Kid learning lessons, trying to figure out who he's going to be, the difficulties of that, uh, how just kind of amorphous you are as a kid when you're like taking on all sorts of different influences, seeing older people around you, like just deciding who you want to be. Uh, Again, not that it's not well worn territory in movies, but when you do it right, I am always a sucker for a good coming of age movie. So Dee Dee was that for this year, and like I said, check it out on Peacock. My number six. Okay, uh, getting into the top five.
Well, no, if you want to, we can
Do
just
we
go ahead
want
and.
to? What?
No, I'm saying if you want to jump right into the top five, we can just roundhouse kick our way into the Roadhouse 2024. Jake Gyllenhaal,
Amen.
Conor McGregor, number five, available
See,
on Amazon.
this is what I'm fucking talking about. Like the list has been pretty like all right, pretty fucking respectable up until now. I'm like, where are the Gavin picks?
Oh, they're here,
Where are
baby.
they
Don't worry.
at, dude?
Don't
Bring them
worry.
out. Uh, Roadhouse, the movie no one asked for.
But
Uh,
everybody fucking enjoyed.
yes. Uh, I be lying. If I'm lying, I'm dying, Gavin. I had a good time.
Good. I'm
I
glad.
still regrettably wish that Conor McGregor would fuck the fuck off out of this movie, dude. Just an absolute train wreck of a performance. Like grinds the movie to an absolute halt as soon as he arrives. I hated everything about it. I know that's the point, but just no. Billy Magnuson as the as the villain, I was
Yeah.
totally down for. I was like, as an update on uh oh my gosh, who's our OG guy?
Ben
Is it Gazera? It's
Ben
been
Gazzara.
Gazera,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
JC Penney is coming here because of me.
as an update on like that dude, I was like, okay, I can dig it. And yeah, McGregor, I could have done without that. Other than that, the movie I thought was a great fucking time.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Gyllenhaal in it. Like, yeah, no real complaints other than I I thought they lost a little bit of like what made Dalton Dalton by like just having him get absolutely shredded and jacked for this movie, which I was like, okay. I
Did you?
didn't
I mean,
really
hold on.
like that
Did
it
you not?
was
Hold on. Did you? You haven't seen the original Roadhouse? Have you not seen him sweating in the top of that loft, doing all the practicing moves and stuff?
no,
Swayze's ripped to
Gavin,
hell and back. I
no,
get
no,
it.
no,
It's
no, no.
natural. It's
That's
natural.
that is the difference. That
It's
is the
functional.
difference.
I
It
get
is
it.
not this hulking. I'm just like, I'm sorry. It removes a little bit of the stakes when I'm just like, dude, the cool thing about Swayze as a fighter, and even in that movie, is he brings the elegance of a dancer, dude. Even when he's about to rip a dude's throat out, it's like, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I could watch this all day.
So okay. So
And so
would you change it? And
you lose that like beautiful choreo in favor of like punch, punch, mash, mash MMA stuff and way too much digital in that final fight. Way too
yeah,
much
yeah.
like digital augmentation. Didn't need it. Doug Lyman, you I don't know what you're doing these days, dude. Like just making weird fucking choices. I'm sorry they screwed you on your movie. I would have gone to see it in theaters. I had a good time. Jake making weird choices, dude, just left and right. I'm talking about just like what movies he's making. I don't
Yeah,
understand it, but God bless him, dude. Sure.
yeah.
I think this was like, here's the thing. We all know they were on set back in 2000, and he told him, he said, look, Jake, if I pass away, you got to carry on the legacy. I want you to be the next Dalton. I see in this young Donnie Darko, I see the face of a young Swayze.
What is his? What I can't even think of his name in that movie now. What is his name in that movie?
Is it Jeffrey something? Oh my God, I gotta look it up.
You're gonna have to look it up because okay, quick note. You don't know this. Maybe I've said it, I haven't. At work on Teams, okay? We're supposed to have on there that like thanks for being part of the safe family, yada yada yada. My message on Teams is sometimes I doubt your commitment to Sparkle Motion. And I've had more people at my job be like, what is Sparkle Motion? I'm like, you haven't seen Donnie Darko.
The
What's his
of
name? What's
course,
his
the
name in that movie?
unforgettable Cunningham.
Jim Cunningham. That's right. I have to stay and spearhead the Jim Cunningham Defense Fund.
To put an
Sometimes I
end to
doubt
these
your
awful
awful
rumors.
rumors. Sometimes I doubt your commitment to Sparkle Motion.
She's incredible. I think she has literally popped up in three movies I've seen in the last like couple
Yes.
weeks. She's just
Yep.
always there.
Yeah.
Always there. Okay. Roadhouse was your number.
Number five.
That's what I'm talking about, brother. A true Gavin pick if there ever was one. Love it. My number five, probably the biggest and most like widely celebrated in terms of award season consideration thus far. The latest from Sean Baker, Honora.
I haven't seen it. I want to see it. Tell me anything about it.
Obviously, I know this is on your list. Evan Tuig saw it, big fan. Sunshine Mayfield saw it, not as big a fan, and kind of in the bag for Baker up to this point. I think a little bit.
Yeah, dude,
Uh,
Florida Project was great.
that's what I was gonna say. My
And what was one after that?
Red,
You bought it. Red
Red
Rocket?
Rocket, Red
Yeah, dude. I
Rocket.
love that. That's so fucking good, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure you know from the trailer the basic premise, but
Yeah, yeah.
sex worker uh, finds a new client, Russian oligarch. They get married in a whirlwind Vegas marriage, and then you know stuff happens afterwards. There's a movie after that,
Oh, okay.
basically. um, and it is kind of this beautiful three-act structure. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, other than to say uh, this is one of the three funniest movies I saw all year, and
That's what everybody's
the
that's
other
what
two
everybody
are
said is
coming
that
after
they
this.
were hilarious, but they weren't comedies. Like it's not billed as a comedy, right?
I yeah, no, definitely not billed as a comedy
But it's like so funny.
and really should not be given the kind of overall arc of the film, I would say. But in the same way that like Red Rocket, I'm like Red Rocket's funny as shit. It's also one of the darkest
Right.
American films I've seen in recent memory. So, uh yeah, it's like it's kind of the fusion of everything he's been building up to in a way, but like, you know, from again, Florida Project was the only time where I was like, not a lot of laughs here. A lot of heart and a lot of like pulling at my heartstrings, but like it wasn't funny. So,
Yeah,
On that level alone, like, yes, this one is both a blast, but also then does kind of deliver the gut punch without spoiling where it goes. I can't wait till you see it. We can talk about it in more depth. Definitely going to be a big player for awards consideration. Mikey Madsen is definitely like, probably in the top two or three for best actress right now. We'll see where that goes tonight. I know Demi Moore took it,
Hmm.
and so you know, keep you
Did she
updated.
won? She won, or she just took it and left?
She took it and left. She
Oh,
stormed
okay.
off the
That's what.
stage. She said, "I
That's what I
deserve
thought.
this, and I don't care who actually won. I'm taking
Yeah.
it."
Mine, mine.
Yes. Uh, but yeah, my number five, Honora, which I believe is still just rentable.
Yeah, when it comes
But
to
I know,
streaming, I'm definitely
yeah,
gonna
a
watch
lot of
as soon
people will
as.
be getting to in the next couple months, but definitely make sure that you do because it's going to be up there. And fair warning for anybody who doesn't like watching uncomfortable things with their spouse or other loved ones or has young children that are paying attention to stuff. Lots of nudity in this one, so heads up. Also, you got to carve out a little time for it, about 2.5 hours.
Hmm.
But a movie that I think perfectly, I would say, much in the way that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did, both luxuriates in, but 100% earns its runtime,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
That's my number five, Honora from Sean Baker.
Okay. My number four, um, favorite of this year is a one that I'm gonna have to watch one or two more times, just so I kind of think I know what's going on, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's I saw the TV Glow.
I'm going to request that you table it,
Okay. All right.
but
You're
I'm
number four.
very happy that you saw it. My number four is called Hundreds of Beavers.
That lesbian documentary on the Y Network or the I don't know.
Keep going,
I have no
keep
idea.
going, keep riffing.
Hundreds of what is
Yeah.
it about? Is it about it's a Nickelodeon doc about angry beavers from
Hundreds
the
of
90s.
Beavers uh, is the second funniest film I saw all year.
I mean, with a name like that, I mean, come on.
I just want to be able to tell people where they can see it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
It's coming to a
Uh,
dam near you.
it is straight up just streaming on Amazon Prime along with like a billion other channels right now. It is highly seeable.
Okay.
Hundreds of Beavers is a throwback to silent comedy.
God.
Okay.
Okay.
Shot in black and white. In this 19th century supernatural winter epic, a drunken Applejack salesman must go from zero to hero and become North America's greatest fur trapper by defeating hundreds of beavers.
Okay.
Pound for like absolutely hysterical. Just an absolute blast from start to finish. The gags, Gavin. The gags in this movie are just they're undeniable. You'll be watching it and you'll be like, okay, all right, that was pretty funny. And then the way it escalates and builds and snowballs and calls back to things, and you're like, how can this keep going? And it just maintains that energy through
Mm-hmm.
its entire runtime
Okay.
and then has the most like perfect chef's kiss ending you could possibly ask for. And it's just an absolute joy. I could not recommend any movie more highly across the board to anyone. Truly. Like you can watch this. It's got a little like if we're being real here, it's got a little like lightly salacious material, but we're talking like stuff that'll go right over the little ones' heads. Nothing too risque.
Yeah.
Nothing too risque. You could put
Okay.
this on for a kid. They're gonna have a blast. Just an absolute joy. Like genuinely, I was like the sheer creativity uh on display here. Top notch. Uh I should shout out the filmmaker, Mike Cheslick, uh, who I believe written by, produced by, etc. Not sure who our lead is here, but what is their other film? Their other film is streaming as well on Prime. I think it's called Lake Michigan Monster. I need to check that one out. But just great, unique indie movies still exist. Hundreds of Beavers is one of them. Please seek it out if you want to just have a great time.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's got to go from zero to hero. This might be the hook. But no, I don't want to tell you anything more about it. I hyped it up enough. Go watch it. Go watch it
Yeah.
so we can talk about it.
Okay.
It's on Prime. Hundreds of Beavers, my number four favorite film of 2024. I believe that would be your number three, sir. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Okay. My number three was the only thing put out by Marvel Studios this year. One of the other ones I got to see in theaters, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Take it away, Gab.
There's not much to say about this one. Highly anticipated ever since, well, I'm going to say all the way back in the Wolverine origin stage. We all knew eventually this day would come. We were hoping first we'd get something where Deadpool actually talked and didn't have his mouth covered, and we got that through leaked footage and 20th Century Fox saying, "Oh, you know what? This Ryan Reynolds kid, let's give him a shot, see what happens." And here we are, almost a decade later, and we've got it. We've got it, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. No, when Marvel said that there was just one movie coming out this year and it was going to be Deadpool and Wolverine, I was like, of course. And I get it. The movie even says it when you start it. You're entering the Marvel. You're entering the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You're entering superhero movies at a downtime. We don't you don't know if you're even gonna like it. It knows exactly what it is. It you know it's what I couldn't ask for more. Maybe there's an extended cut. Maybe I get more time with you know all the amazing characters that get to come back. I don't want to say anything about them, but again, if you've been on the internet since July, you know what happens through all the reels and stuff. I don't know. I've never like when the first Deadpool came out, I was like, this is great. Second one came out, I was like, better, but I still may like the first the best. And then this drops, I'm like, just seeing Hugh Jackman in the yellow jumpsuit, that was worth everything. And I haven't. I saw it in theaters. I'm sure there's plenty of jokes I missed. I just haven't been able to sit down and watch it on Disney Plus since it's been available streaming. But now that it is, and I'm slowly getting more and more time on my hands to watch it at night, and I've actually added Disney back on my phone. I'll probably watch it one or two more times now, just because I can. But just from that initial viewing in the theater, getting a little break, we were up and that was it's actually the one I went and saw at Tinseltown in Salisbury, one of the last times I was up there. Um, and so if I don't ever watch another movie in that theater again, it was a fun one to be the last one. So
Yeah.
that's my
Um,
yeah.
I I had about as I would say I liked this movie like 100% as much as I thought I would. It was exactly the movie I thought I was
Yeah,
getting.
exactly. Yeah.
You know what
hmm
I mean?
hmm
So for me, it's like that was never going to be that high on my personal list. But I had a great time in the theater for what it was because I was like, if I'm gonna go see this, like with my kind of increasing aversion to Ryan Reynolds, my kind of increasing aversion to superhero movies, like over the last couple years, uh, I was like, I'm gonna give it as much benefit of the doubt as I can. Let me go opening night with a big crowd that's excited to see it. That's exactly what I did. I literally sat in a row surrounded by like a group of 10 friends that had like I split the sea essentially. So they were
hmm
like cross talking over me the whole time. Didn't mind at all because everybody was just having a good time. You know what I mean? Uh, so on that level, yeah, this is still on the positive side of my list. That being said, it is at number 60 out of 79.
Yeah. I mean,
But I liked it for what it was.
hmm
And again, I'm kind of tapped out on comic book movies. So for what it's worth, it was nice to see one at least actively shitting on them. Although at the same time, I do have a bit of a problem with the movie that points out all of the tropes and how shitty they are, and then proceeds to do all of them anyways.
yeah. I mean, but then again, that's the character. Like that's exactly what would happen.
I get that. I
Totally meta part of it. I'm really interested to see. We haven't talked about this. I'm really interested to see what a James Gunn led DC cinematic, what that looks like relative towards like the success that Marvel had. Is there going to be any like, hey, I see what they did with these. Let's pivot. let's not give him this. I get that he's invested in, okay, when you're on screen, you're this character, but when you're in voice, you're the character as well. Because we do have a big, I feel like DC has a better animation backlog than maybe Marvel does with some of the Batmans and Superman stuff they've done. So the idea that he wants to come in and have the actor who's being Superman be Superman across the board through movies and animated films on Max and all that kind of stuff. Interested to see how that goes. Just interested in general to see what he has in shape, not in shape, in store for DC movies coming forward, knowing what we know about superhero movies. Are we all tapped out on superhero movies, or is it Marvel superhero movies that we're tapped out on? They're so formulaic, we know what they're doing. Is there going to be something different that he can bring to it that's like, hey, this is what you want? Or is it more going to be just like, oh, look at these guys too? There's this whole other, comic book company that has these other staple of like comic book movies to watch. You've seen all the Marvel ones. Do you want to watch the DC ones now? Is it going to be that? Or is it going to be like, hey, let me try and bring you back and bring the superhero experience kind of around again, but not insult my audience and not like let them know what they're going to be getting into without like, trying to dumb it down for them or to like just be a CGI thing popping around. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that versus what Marvel has planned, which seems like it's just going to be more of the same, but could also be maybe they've kind of learned. Maybe they're going to pivot as well. But that is good, what's going to be interesting. Because again, we only had one release this year. Yes, they did some stuff on streaming, but like there was only one release this year, and it was Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's why it was my number three.
All right.
So yeah, you're number three.
I'm glad you had a great time with it, brother. My number three. I don't know if I've ever done this before. You got to go to YouTube for this one. And I don't even know if you'd call it a movie, but fuck it, right?
Yeah.
My number three favorite film 2024 is Stand Up Solutions from Connor O'Malley. I'm going to send it your way because I'm seeing a huge blank expression on your face. Uh, you would know him as Trevor from Detroiters. Trevor, don't forget your Slipknot mask. You would know him as the guy who's very horny, so he honks. And I think you should leave. Is he ringing a visual bell for you now?
Maybe. What's his name again? I can go look him up.
Connor O'Malley.
Connor.
Okay. I will send you this ostensibly stand up special, which is, again, in my opinion, a movie. It's a performance art piece. It transcends the stand up genre. It's about Richard Eagleton, a spokesperson for a new AI comedy initiative. And I don't want to tell you anything more than that, other than it is the most 2024 ass thing I saw in 2024. It feels the most like of the moment of anything. Uh, Obviously, given my ranking, the funniest thing I saw all year. I think you will be absolutely on the floor. Like you personally, I think will be dying. I sent this to Tim. I know he got really into it. I don't know if Evan has checked it out or not. I've been trying to like infect everybody with the Connor virus essentially. But this was the year I got super into him. He's had a YouTube channel for years now. He's married to Adie Bryant from SNL. He used to write on
Huh.
Seth Meyers' late night show. He's been blowing up consistently. And I'll go ahead and do a weird caveat, and then I can talk about my number two, which might be mixed in with yours. Let's talk about it right now because he's also in my number one favorite film of the year, which I believe was your number four. I Saw the TV Glow.
Mm-hmm.
He is the theater manager, and I Saw the TV Glow,
Oh, okay.
if
I'm
that rings a
recognizing
bell.
him now. What was he in that I remember him being in?
He's all over. I think you should leave. I mean, that's what you know him
Yeah.
from. But yes,
Does he show up in? Oh yeah, he shows up at the very end of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
he is in that as well, which I need to
Yeah.
see because the director of that made Baby Girl, which I haven't brought up, but was on my long list in my 20, which is in theaters right now, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Hmm.
So I need to go back and watch Bodies, 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 which I was supposed to do back in October.
Yes,
Okay,
indeed.
all of that was long-winded. Can we talk about I Saw the TV Glow? My
Sure.
favorite film of 2024, and for me personally, I, this may be overstating it, and it's always bad to like overhype something for people. But this is also a movie that I'm like, if you see it and it does nothing for you, or you actively like dislike it, I don't begrudge you that either. Uh, for me, I think it's my favorite movie of the last like 23-ish years. Basically, it's my favorite film I've seen since Mulholland Drive, which is my favorite movie of all time. Uh, so do with that what you will. Uh, if you didn't catch it, it's available on HBO Max right now. Again, not for everybody. It is the story of Owen and Maddie, uh, two outcasts who find each other when they're fairly young. It's like middle school age, and they become obsessed with a show called The Pink Opaque, which is kind of a Are You Afraid of the Dark meets Buffy, a little bit of Goosebumps thrown in there, maybe a little Pete and Pete.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, they become obsessed with this show, and then the movie goes on from there and kind of charts what that show and that relationship means to them over the course of what ultimately becomes decades. This movie goes places you would never expect. Uh, and I had just an absolute like knockout performance in the theater where Beram and I made the trek to like I drove to Camden to meet up with him and then drive to Columbia to see this because it was not coming to Charleston for a very long time. And it was one of those we both walked out of and just kind of collectively were just like, fuck. Like, wow. Like just kind of needed a minute to sit in it and then proceeded to basically stay up for the next like 3 hours on the drive back and then hang out at his guest house, just doing nothing but just talking about that movie. And I eventually it did come to Charleston again. I saw it for a second and third time in theaters. I got the A24 Blu-ray straight from the factory. I have watched it twice at home. It is my most seen movie of 2024. I am firmly obsessed with it. I am very happy to see that you went for this one because as I was watching it, I was like, I feel like Gavin might dig this. And I want to bring this up because if you hadn't had this thought, I'm just curious. I got you a Christmas gift this year.
Hmm.
Do you want to tell everybody what it was?
I mean, basically, it's the Blu-ray of Greg
It's a
Raki's Teenage Doom Generation trilogy that he put out in the late 90s, or
it's
basically the 90s.
so it's totally fucked up.
Yep. The Doom
Doom
Generation
Generation
and
and
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
And previously, Nowhere has never been available in this format. It was only ever available on VHS for a while. I don't think there was ever a DVD. As far as my knowledge, there was never a DVD released of it. It was available on streaming last year, this year, somewhere in there. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Because,
And
like, I'd love, and again,
I,
I know where
I
you're going with
don't.
this.
Okay, yeah, I don't. So I don't know if you've rewatched any of those, but those are iconic movies of like 90s indie queer cinema that
Yes.
like completely like busted the door down in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And I forgot that it's like those are movies that you turned me on to that like I never that's such a like left field thing. I truly would never have I would have eventually discovered Mysterious Skin
Hmm.
probably because I was obsessed with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I would have no clue who Iraqi was unless you put me on to him.
Hmm.
And it had never clicked for me until I knew we were about to talk about this tonight, but I was like, I hope Gavin saw this because if he didn't, that's how I'm going to pitch it to him is like, did you not have a little bit like I come at this going like I can clearly see their David Lynch influences like on full display and like lots of other things. But I'm like, did you watch this and get a little bit of like this feels like a Greg Araki movie? Like totally 100% doing its own thing. Like just the vibes, the time period, all of that. Like did you have that thought when you were watching it or just the vibes of that? Did that eke in there at all for you?
So when I watched it, the main thing that I'm not going to say I got vibes of that, but what I was actively doing as I'm watching it is I kept thinking about those, those movies in the sense of like, are they as good as I remember them being? because I had
Perfect.
not
A
not just not
perfect example.
yeah,
Yes.
not exactly like those specifically. You can throw those Greg Araki movies in there, but you can throw literally anything that I wanted to be like, oh, this was dope. I love this as a thing. Anything that I had the like. This is gonna be weird to say. I would throw in even like a Crime and Punishment in Suburbia. I watched it one time. I bought the DVD. I've gone back to it, but like I just at now so far removed from it. And it's the thing I've gone through. We just talked about it when I was talking about TV of like step by step, and I was like, it's this. That show sits differently in my mind's eye now, knowing what I know, having gone through everything and watched it. That was like a random one I caught here and there. We were definitely much of the. We probably watched Family Matters more than we watched Step by Step. We probably watched Full House more than we watched Step by Step. So going back and watching it, it was almost like it had this allure to it of like, ooh, Step by Step. I never really watched it. I'm gonna watch it. And so watching this and how like nostalgia works and how you remember things and all that. And yeah, you could say that like maybe I didn't see the vibe and the feel of it. It is there, I will admit, but I was thinking of it more of like what are those movies? What is that time
Yeah,
period?
no, you
What is
had
that Sundance channel, late night Sundance channel, like on the we first had like cable TV and like I was in my room because I bought a new TV like before it was out in front and you had to have like a cable box a long time ago, like catching something crazy because that's where I caught all those movies, just random stuff.
yeah,
Like,
I think of that
how
era
does all that play
like
now?
when same thing like early 2000s when I'm getting like really into like movies and cinema and like trying to like actively seek out stuff and like watch weird interesting shit and kind of sharing that with my group of friends. There's been a lot of those that I've gone back to and some that I'm scared to go back to,
Hmm.
because you have such a particular relationship to it. And that's something that's been a recurring theme on our list throughout the years and this podcast in general is kind of our dividing relationships to nostalgia, like varying feelings. Sometimes it works for us, sometimes it doesn't. Uh, so obviously, I was always going to gravitate towards a movie that explores a lot of that as kind of a bit of its central theme, but it's like, but the movie has so much more
Oh
going
yeah.
on beyond that. And that the true kind of like onion peeling and the fact that again I've gone back to it multiple times and I feel like I'm getting more and more out of it uh each time it's just pretty astounding. Some of my favorite cinematography of the year, the vibes are immaculate. My personal picks for uh, performances of the year, possibly from Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne. I thought they were both just absolutely incredible in this. Uh, I don't know. It's weirdly a hard movie for me to like talk about because it's I don't know. It it hit me on such a profound level that I think I'm still wrestling with. I love the movie kind of like leaves you in a way that you can take a lot of different things from it, both good and bad. You can read that movie as incredibly like an incredibly down ending, and you could also watch that movie and be like, that was beautiful, that was inspiring, that's like the most hopeful thing I've ever seen. And that alone, I'm just like, I don't know. I love things that can do that to me. Side note, what'd you think of Fred Durst?
Completely unrecognizable.
And how some of the best casting ever.
Yeah.
Like just casting that guy
Hmm.
does so much work that I
Hmm.
personally as a viewer just bring all of this back. I was like, you don't need to tell me anything else. I know the dynamic of this father-son relationship,
Hmm.
like just through the casting. I
Yeah.
like you don't need to show me anything else. That
But
was
also, when you argue meta casting, if you're talking about this,
100%.
yeah,
Oh
if you're
no,
talking about yeah,
absolutely.
for
That's
those
what
of you
I'm
who don't get
saying.
it, like if you don't
Br
if you don't
br
understand
I'm
what
saying
that yeah.
brilliantly layered in so many ways, not only because of the relationship nostalgia, but because of what Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit as an entity represents in relationship to what a lot of the movie is dealing with. You know what I mean?
Like
Um,
I'm not sure if you heard this, but I heard that it was going to be the pink opaque and not chocolate starfish in the hot dog flavored water. They were gonna name that album the Pink Opaque. They got in a legal dispute. It was just so they had to change the name.
Yeah, I didn't know that. The
No, it's
other, so that one kind of goes beyond cameo, but also, of course, because I assume you've only seen it once. Did you catch Pete and Pete?
where are they?
They are so time again. We get very like we start spanning decades in the back half of the movie without spoiling anything. And I forget exactly where it is, but they do you recall there's kind of a lingering shot of just two guys on the street in the neighborhood
Hmm.
of varying heights. That's almost just like a this is a vision of your future. Like these are the guys who never got out.
Oh, okay.
That's Pete. That's
That's
Pete and
Danny
Pete.
Tamborelli and the other guy.
And was it Maradona? Derek? What's his?
I can't. Yeah.
Marona? Mike
Yeah, yeah.
Marona?
I
Mike
think
Marona.
so.
Mike Marona and Danny Tamborelli. That's it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. It just
No, I didn't. I have to. Yeah.
it hit me on so many different levels. I think it's just a complete again, I mentioned Lynch, mentioned Iraqi. The thing I love about people that are clearly influenced by things that I love and enjoy is not when they imitate or emulate, it's when they take the spirit of what all of that's about.
Hmm.
The thing you should take from David Lynch is not, oh, let me try and imitate the way he does suspense or scares or the odd vibes, the delivery of dialogue. The thing you should take from David Lynch is I want to do things 100% my own way in the way that feels right to me and fuck all the rules. That's what you should take away from David Lynch. Is just like be singularly yourself. Like make the thing you want to make, don't compromise and let people come to you. And that is 100% I think what Jane Schoenbrunn is doing. I shouted it out on October at some point in the last year or two, and I think it's still on HBO. Uh, We're All Going to the World's Fair is their
Hmm.
prior feature, which I highly recommend. Uh, Deals with a lot of the same themes. I think TV Glow broadens those and goes completely other places that I wasn't expecting. Uh, but World's Fair also hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I love both of those films. Uh, so yeah, dude, I could not be more pleased that you made the time to see it and that it's this high on your list. Very, very happy right now. I just have my number two left. How many do you have left?
Just my two and my one.
All right, well, let's hear them.
My number two was Alien Romulus
Oh yeah,
for Betty Alvarez. If you're a fan of anything Alien, you'll love this completely. I didn't know we were getting a TV show. Fucking stoked for that. Um,
very interested to see where it goes. And
yeah,
yes, basically like Alien, the fan fiction movie, but like, you know what? I was there for it, man.
yeah.
It was kind of I talked about this with the Batman, a movie that I like quite a bit more, even though I like Romulus a lot. But I talked about it with the Batman. That was the movie that I was like, I kind of showed and did everything I've wanted to see in a Batman movie that I hadn't seen yet.
Hmm.
And Romulus was like, dude, it was showing me things I hadn't even thought I wanted to see. And
Exactly, dude.
I was like, how did we get this far into this franchise and nobody thought of Acid Blood Ballet, Zero G? Like, how do we not think of any of this stuff? And
Just the fact
that's what
that,
we
like,
needed. We needed a fan to come in and be like, hey, I've
exactly.
always wanted to play in this playground. Let me play. And that's what Fede Alvarez did.
Hmm. I mean, it's the same, you know, the minute that you pull back and you realize that, like, this is the same, like, newfangled technology, but also extremely old tech of like 70s Alien. Like, this is not like futuristic into the new, like, it was the fact that you took a step back, like, set design wise, that it was like, they make the comment of like, we have to take the android so that because he can speak mother. It's like, we all know what mother is. Now, where we are in the Alien, technically, if you're gonna follow franchise, like, three and then on to Alien Resurrection, we're way years beyond that. But like when you say mother, we all know that mother's the whole AI that runs the whole ship. And them going like as far as to do the in home like you have my sympathies. I couldn't be mad at it. I mean, I had to explain to Becky when we're watching. I was like, this is actually the dopest thing because like if you don't remember, you never saw the original, or maybe she didn't remember the original. Sigourney Weaver has to plug him back in and yada yada yada, all this, and I don't know. It's one of those where like I appreciated more the explanation of like, oh, this corporation is going to nail you into the ground and you will never ever get out. The only way that you can like make it is like doing something like this. Like the desperation of like, I'll never get off this planet. I'll never stop doing this backbreaking work. That it's probably better for me to go like try and get into this wreckage of a ship, have to deal with these aliens to get, you know, cryo fuel or whatever so I can leave. Like I don't know because I think that gets lost on us. It's like this whole thing is like essentially everything in this entire genre is like it's corporate greed. Get down there and get that thing. We need it because
Yep.
money, you know. If you want to take a break, if you just want to boil it all down to that. And so I appreciate that build up. Of course, if you want to parlay it, we'll come back to your number two. The lead in this is in my number one,
Yes,
which I'm
and
sure it
before,
didn't make. Yeah, it
yeah,
didn't
we'll
make
talk
it.
about that in
Yeah,
just a second, but I will
yeah,
just shout out Andy, played by David Johnson in the movie, The Synthetic.
yes.
I don't know how you felt about it. In a world where the Michael Fassbender performance exists, this is the best synthetic we've had. Uh,
Only.
next to David. I mean, dude, I love Bishop.
No,
I
no, no,
love
no, no, no,
Bishop,
no, no,
but
no, no, not
but
even
that's
that.
like a
The
separate
best, no, no,
conversation.
the best synthetic we've had is Father and Raised by Wolves.
Well, we're not counting
I know.
television, but obviously,
Yes, but if we
yes,
could, no, if I could
both
have
of
had
them.
that actor
Well,
doing it
no,
here, it'd
see,
been
no,
perfect.
I disagree with you. I think David
You'd like,
Johnson is
okay.
fantastic in this. I
Oh
also was
yeah, no,
just
he's
gonna
great.
say, yet another reason for you to start watching Industry. Another person from
Oh,
Industry.
okay, all right.
Okay, and yes, the lead, Kaylee Spaney, is also in Gavin's number one film of the year and my number two, which obviously is Alex Garland's Civil
Civil
War.
War.
We did a whole podcast about it. Go listen to it.
Yes.
Do we want to say anything else? You
Um,
were on that pod, right?
yeah, I was on there.
It was
So
me, you, Evan, and Beryl. Did we get all four
you,
of us?
Mo with the gippy leg,
Oh no,
f
we didn't. That's right. We did not
snakes.
get Evan on it. It was me, you, and Barham. We were doing War Never Changes paired with Fallout, right?
We were, yeah, because that is the first movie that I got to see in the theater post Maverick. It was
I
this, Deadpool, and Wolverine, and Nosferatu. Those are the three I saw in theaters. Um,
I was curious if it was gonna hold up this far, and
Still
like
does. I
as we were getting further up your
re-
list, I was like, dude, did he bump it? Did he bump
rewatched
it
it,
hard?
rewatched it two times already since it's been on Max, dude.
Okay, same.
It
Hit,
just
got picked up the
it's
Blu-ray and
yeah.
yeah, watched it at home. I will say,
It says so much
doesn't
without saying
hit
anything at
quite
all.
as hard as the first three times in the theater, but
Right.
it still works. It still works. Uh, yeah. Again, I would echo like we both loved it. Go back and listen to that episode. I don't think we need to
Yeah.
dwell on it. I think we can move into some list. Shout out some other titles.
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
Unless you had a final statement you'd like to offer about Civil War.
I
In those rewatches, is there anything you took from it that you don't feel like you got the first time around? Uh, or is it just do you feel like it's more just
I may have
it's
I
so
may
experiential that like I just kind of want to get those vibes every once in a while,
I
which
can't,
it's
I can't remember if I mentioned it or not on the podcast, but I just want to mention the opening again, where it's the president rehearsing because anything, I feel like anytime you have anybody in power rehearsing what they're saying, to me, it always lends itself back to that idea that, like, no matter what, one of the worst people in the last 100 years to be born and have died rehearsed things. It was not like maybe it necessarily wasn't like, and the rehearsal is so like he can rile himself up to get to a certain level to like tell it to people. So regardless of, what he actually felt, it was you could all argue that like, well, it was just an act or like it was just a play. He was just doing this to whip whatever it was. But the rehearsing of trying to tell people that like this is how things are going, and it's going great, you know. And really, it's not. It's one of the. It's it's you still got two-thirds of your government working for you, and that ain't bad. No, it's actually you don't have two-thirds of the government working for you. You're all fucked. We're all fucked. I love that we don't know anything about it. If you were looking for that, this movie wasn't for you. But if
Yeah,
you can
and
get
I think
past that,
clearly, even as well as it did at the box office, and overall did very well with critics and audiences, seemingly, I'm kind of shocked to see it completely ignored this like here in award season. I'm kind
it's
of
too real for him.
surprised.
It's too
And
real
I
for
think
him.
that's ultimately what it was is like now at the end of the year, nobody really felt like thinking about that movie again. But it certainly stuck with me, stuck with some other people who we'll talk about their list in a minute. I do want to ask real quick before we get to those, and just a plug for the next Alex Garland project. Did you see the trailer for Warfare?
No.
So this is the one, I believe it's Ray Mendoza was the military like advisor and coordinator for Civil War,
Hmm.
who I believe is an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. He is co-directing with Garland this movie for A24 called Warfare. It is real time, like combat situation in a like urban area. I think based on a an event. I want to say in Afghanistan, but I could be mistaken. I'm not sure. Uh, I forget what exact time period this was, but it looks very intense. It looks like basically the highest intensity moments of Civil War, but sustained for the runtime of the movie. But everything from the trailer seems to indicate it is real time. I don't know that it's going for like no cuts, but yeah, it
Hmm.
looks like a lot. It looks very intense, but I am weirdly looking forward to it. So
And what's
we
it
shall
called
see.
again?
It's called Warfare. I'll send you the trailer while we're chatting here. Okay. We will start with one of our favorite cousins, Mr. Matthew J. Blanchard. He admits he only saw 7 movies, which is an improvement over the last 2 years, he says. He says, I think I cut Argyle. That was the Apple TV Plus movie that did come out this year, did come out in 2024. He said, I cut Argyle despite it being a ton of fun and dropped Wicked because it didn't really do anything new with any of the tropes it was playing in. Also, I deduct points for turning a 3 hour musical into a 6 hour film. And that leaves him with his top 5. At number 5, Moana 2. At number 4, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. At
I saw
number
that.
at number 3, Deadpool and Wolverine. At number 2, Beetlejuice. And at number 1, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Okay?
All right.
And yeah, you mentioned you saw Frozen Empire. I have not watched any of the new ones. I know they're on Paramount Plus. Are they worth my time?
And Netflix too, yeah, of course, dude.
Maybe
I
one
mean,
of
well, no,
these
hang on, hang
days.
on, hang on, hang on. You made fun of me when I talked about the trailer. You're like, I mean, what are we getting nostalgic for about Ghostbusters? It was just this random comedic thing. Like, really? Are we trying to sell this? And yeah, dude, of course I am. Okay, like that was part of my childhood. I love the first remake they did. I hate that they waited so long and that uh what's his face passed, and
Harold
they
Ramis.
Ramus passed, and they couldn't actually do something with all of them. But yeah, they're great. They're perfect. Just watch them. They're not trying to rewrite the
All
book. They're not
right,
trying to
all
be
right.
cash grabs. They're there for you just to enjoy and be like, you know what? I do like that series. I do like the Ghostbusters. It's fun stuff.
All right. Okay. Moving on to one of our other favorite cousins, Mr. Patrick J. Blanchard. He says he saw about 17 movies. These are his top 5. At number 5, Maxine with 3 X's.
All
At number
right.
4, Abigail, parentheses, just fun. Just fun. Number 3, Transformers 1,
I need to
which I
watch that one.
regrettably did not see. I believe that's on Paramount as well now, of course.
Mm-hmm.
At number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, sensing a trend here.
All right.
At number 1, Furiosa. And in true Patrick fashion, he had to include a worst 5. At number 5, gonna hard disagree here. In a Violent Nature. Had a great time with that movie.
Oh yeah,
Liked
that
it a
was
lot.
good. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
At number four, not gonna hard disagree, but Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire,
I liked it.
Adam
It was good.
Wingard. I mean, dude, for a
Uh,
big dumb blockbuster in the theater, I had a great time. I
and it
thought
was a
it.
big dumb blockbuster at home, and I enjoyed
I
it.
I thought it knew exactly what it wanted to do, and it did it quite well. And
Hmm.
that's all I could ask for.
Hmm.
Uh, at number three, The Crow. At number two, Nosferatu. Again, this is his worst list.
Yeah.
And at number one on Patrick's worst films of 2024, Joker, Folie à Deux.
There's always one in the crowd. It's fine.
There's always one in the crowd, indeed. All right, we're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. We are going to move it over to Mr. Brendan Riley.
Oh my God.
He never gave me the actual numbers. He is working a shift at the hospital as we speak. So we're just going to list the movies. Dee Dee, I think that was his number one, firmly. Pretty sure. He was a big fan of Dee Dee. We saw it in the theater together. Dune, Part 2, first time it's gotten a mention. Thoroughly
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It was in my top 15. Love Lies Bleeding, nice for it to get a shout out. Thoroughly
I,
enjoyed that. Did you check that one out?
I loved it, but it was like number
Didn't
11.
didn't quite make the cut. Nice. That is available on Max. If you haven't seen it,
Hmm.
check it out. Civil War was on his list as well. Fall Guy, Rebel Ridge,
Well,
Planet of the Apes. I think that was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
yes, it is.
Furiosa, Bad Boys for Life, or excuse me, Bad Boys Ride or Die, right?
Right, it's Ride or Die.
Even though it should have been For Life for the fourth movie, and they
Right,
should
you
have
should have
done
done
Ride or
Ride or
Die
Die
for
for the
three. We
third one.
talked
Yeah.
about this, right? And Ride could have had a three instead of the E.
Hmm.
They just, guys, let us do this for you, please, in the
Yeah.
future. Just
We'll
ask
title
us,
them. We just want to
for
title
that.
them.
Yeah, that's literally
Tell
the
us this.
only involvement we
Tell
want,
us the
and we
plot,
want
and
millions of
we'll
dollars to do it.
not
Uh,
even millions, just a couple 100,000.
and rounding it out right after Bad Boys, he had Maxine or Wicked or Twisters. Okay.
What's up with these boys go to see Wicked? What's the deal? I don't get it.
Well, like he has little nieces, I know,
Yeah.
and Matthew has a young daughter.
Okay. I mean, I get
So,
it.
so they have young girls in their lives that care about Wicked.
When I get mad, I just didn't get Brendan. It's like there was other things you could have seen. No one apparently saw one that I want to shout out.
See,
And it,
I think he secretly just went by himself, and then
yeah,
he just got the photo op with the nieces afterwards to be like,
yeah,
yeah, wasn't that fun?
yep.
And then he told me he loved it. He absolutely loved it.
It's actually his number one. I just want to shout out one that I didn't put on my list because
Please do.
I I had other better ones, but I really enjoyed it. If I could have done a 15, it definitely would have been in that. But did you see the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
I did not. Is that another Guy Ritchie?
It is another Guy Ritchie, back to
Okay.
back Ritchies. True story. Mission's bad chick. It's all declassified stuff from what the Brits did. Um, it it just you got everybody you want. Henry Cavill, Alan Richter. You got Til Schweiger is the bad guy in this. I mean,
Till.
it's you got and it's based off of one of the characters in there is a guy named Fleming, and he's just a real dude. And
All
it's
right.
basically all declassified stuff that like had they gotten caught in real life, they were going to go to jail by the British or whoever caught them because it was unsanctioned stuff. And it's just this nice thing of like they tell you at the end, like, oh yeah, this is like the first unsanctioned mission. These guys went on and did like seven or eight other things that helped turn the tide of the war, and we couldn't tell anybody about them until now because it's like 60 years after they're all dead that we can finally say, here you go, this is what they did. So I love the idea that there's possibly other things in the future that if Guy Ritchie wanted to pull from, he could just be like, you know what, I'm going to completely embellish this, but I'm going to make this another like, hey, we're doing this to. I mean, you're fighting and killing Nazis. What's not to love? But Becky's dad's really into war stuff, so of course I watch it on Stars. It's up streaming on there now, and so I told them about it midway through. I was like, "Look, Stars is going to go away for me in February, so if you haven't watched this, watch it before it goes away." Because a lot of times he'll just have something on the background when they're watching Maverick, and I was like, "Check this one out. I think you enjoyed it." Because he's a big James Bond dude, so I
Yeah.
told him I was like, "You got that angle to it too." He's like, "Oh, okay." And I don't know if he ever checked it out. I haven't asked him about it, but that was a really good one. Lots of fun. I wish I could have seen it at theater, but I had to wait till it came to Stars. But I would definitely recommend that. of all the ones that didn't make my list, probably the highest.
Okay. Nice shout out for the
Yeah.
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. We're going to jump over to Mr. Sunshine Mayfield, who we haven't heard a lot from on the network this year, but he was kind enough to write some things for us and provide us with a little list here. Uh, at the number 10 slot, Twisters. At number 9, Ghostlight, which I will point out because I don't think it's come up at all. Not aware of this one personally and need to check it out myself. Ghostlight as is number 9. After that, number 8, Problemista, which I think you can watch on HBO Max. Dee Dee at number 7. Monkey Man at number 6. Did you see
That
Monkey
was
Man?
oh yeah, dude, that was fucking good. I
That
like
was a
that one.
good time. That was quite a good time. At the number 5 slot, The Substance,
Hmm.
which I was quite a fan of, just outside my top 10. At number 4, Challengers. Number 3, Civil War. Number 2, I Saw the TV Glow. And at number 1, Flow, which won Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes tonight. And I had the pleasure of seeing a couple days ago. It is, I believe, the French entry for animated feature, and it's about a cat in like kind of a post-apocalyptic landscape with a bunch of other animals just trying to get by. And it was great. It was pretty
Hmm.
great. Cried like 2 or 3 times in the theater
Hmm.
by myself. Yeah. So that is Mayfield's list, and we will round out before we get into any further honorable mentions from us, and before we end this episode because we've been going for a bit. But got to get Mr. Evan Tuig's thoughts in here, and another shout out for all of his help on the network this year, guesting, etc., etc. He said this is in no particular order, just a working list. Conclave, Blink Twice, Furiosa, Dune Part 2, Anora, Hitman, Challengers, Civil War, A Complete Unknown, glad to hear it get a shout out, and a movie that has not been mentioned yet, and I don't think you've seen, because I definitely think this might have cracked the 10 for you. We will say it again, Strange Darling. One of probably the most, like, don't read anything about it, just watch this movie, just watch it. No context. Strange Darling.
I feel
Rent
like
it.
I've seen it up places, but I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
huge recommend from a lot of us. So we've shouted out a lot of titles. You picked, so your extended one that you wanted to really stick up for was that. If I gotta pick one from my extended list that people can go watch right now that I have not mentioned yet this year, it would probably be Red Rooms. A little bit of a tough sell, uh, but it's available on VOD right now. Very heavy movie, very dark. If you like a good dark thriller, though, this should be right up your alley. Basically, about a again, I don't even want to say too much about the lead character, but it involves a very gruesome murder trial and someone who becomes obsessed and fascinated by said trial. Don't want to say too much more than that.
Hmm.
Very, very interesting film. Red Rooms. Go check it out. Not for the faint of heart. Uh, any other last minute ones you want to throw out there? And just, it's come up multiple times. I kind of felt bad keeping this movie off of my top 10, and it is quite a ways down. But one of those where I'm like, this shit was just made for me. And every once in a while, I love when somebody just does something that feels like they just put a little bow and gave me a present. Late Night with the Devil was a real pleasure.
Yeah,
Just
I
a
had.
true pleasure
Yeah.
this year. It
Hmm.
is in my top 25.
We talked about it in Halloween. It was one of the
We've
reasons why I
mentioned
didn't
it
want to
so
like.
many
I
we've
didn't want to
mentioned
throw
it
it on
so
there.
many times, but I will just say one more time because it was a little movie. I think a lot of people got to it, but that one just that was just right up my alley, dude. A lot of things that I love just smushed into one.
Did you see Caddo Lake?
Did not. That's on HBO or on Max rather.
Yeah.
Produced by M. Night Shyamalan, not directed
Very
by.
not.
Don't get it twisted.
Yep.
Don't get
Very
trapped in thinking that he directed that. He made Trap this year.
exactly. Really good. I loved it. I love the so I got on this kick too. Um, the
I
lead in
assume
that,
without spoiling too much. Yes, Dylan O'Brien
Dylan O'Brien.
is the lead in
I,
that. Without spoiling too much, does it get a little Benson and Moorhead?
yes.
Okay, I was
So
thinking it
it's
might.
like,
I was
no,
thinking it
dude,
might.
it's like if whoever the person is that wrote and directed this, they were like, how do I Benson and Moorhead something without ripping Benson and Moorhead off? And like probably called them up and they were like, well, if you just do it and don't ask us about it, do your own thing with it. We don't care. And they were like, oh, okay. And then they did it. And now you're like, oh, okay. I could see Benson and Moorhead signing off on this. But but the thing I love about it is it doesn't fucking tell you anything. It doesn't
Okay.
hit you over the head. It doesn't be like, we're in this one now. It's
Well,
this. It doesn't do any of that. It's just like, here's a movie, watch it, see if you can figure it out. Love it. That's what I loved about it.
yeah.
Just kind of, you got to watch it and figure out, pay attention,
I will
be an
mention
active participant in this movie. I love it.
it did come up on Mayfield's list, but I will just say, the substance. I can't wait for you to see it when you do get
Well,
to
yeah,
it.
as soon as it's available, yeah.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about on that one. I think you're gonna have to do Mubi. Maybe it's rentable elsewhere, but like it's free streaming on Mubi, and maybe I'll just sign up for another run at that so you can watch it.
Sure.
But yeah, that and Strange Darling, I really think you would enjoy. Dude, I really thought we were gonna get to the end of this list, and I was gonna be like, dude, I saw the TV glow and like have to like be telling you about it for the first time and like hyping it
Hmm.
up and trying to talk you into watching it. And that was genuinely that was the best present you could have
See,
given me
and
for
that's
this
why
list. I'm so
I,
happy you saw that.
I love I love the catch-ups that we do, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to like tell everything I know because I don't want to.
I literally woke up this morning like when you texted me that I was like, I wonder if he's seen it. I was like, I think he might have watched it a little bit ago and just not said a fucking word to me
But see,
about it
here's the
because he
thing.
knows
You know
he
what the beauty of
knows.
it is? The beauty of it is you could go into the one that says Logan Roy and you can go look at my watch it again list and you could see way back down when I watched it.
But I don't do that.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. I don't do that either.
That's called trust. It's called
Exactly.
mutual respect.
Exactly. But again, that's the thing. Is like when we do these catch-ups, sometimes maybe I leave one or two off because I want to have these moments at the end of the year or the start of the new year and we're reflecting back and it's like, oh shit, you did get to that one. Because I'm fully aware there's no way for me to hide anything good from you. Like good stuff will always find you. My only hope is that I can pull gems from the past and be like, check this one out, you might like it. You missed this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Any other kind of final thoughts on I will say again, shout out to all of our extended staff members and extended family who provided the list. I do want to, I hope I'm not blowing up their spot. I hope it's not too early to tease it, but I do know that the brothers Blanchard have a little something in the works for the 2025 calendar year. And I'll just say that you might want to take a look up in the sky. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh my
Right?
God. Can I guess what it's gonna be right now? Hmm.
Sure, go for it.
Oh no, they're just gonna do something. They're gonna go back through every Superman movie that was made. They're gonna look at the Reeve documentary. They're gonna look at all the shorts that were done in the 40s and 50s.
All in prep for the new gun movie. You were 100% correct. That is the
Yep.
game plan.
God, do I know my cousins or do I know my cousins?
Yeah, I'm trying to get on episode 3 or 4 because I have not seen those movies.
What? The Quest for Peace?
No,
And
skipped them. Skipped them.
you didn't see the Quest for Peace?
Maybe, is that the one with Pryor?
That's the canon one, isn't it?
I can't remember. I don't know. I remember rewatching and re-renting 1 and 2 over and over again. And I swear, I don't think I've seen 3 or 4 start to finish. So that's what they've got cooking. Uh, Mayfield and I may have a little something headed your way. I don't know. I don't know. And I think the next time you'll hear from the Blanchard brothers might be when the cop goes gangster next week.
Possibly. It is payday week, so we can afford. Mom and Dad can afford a night at the movies if we need to. And I know two people who'd be willing to watch The Boy.
Well,
So
that was my question is do I need to prov provide circumstances in which for you to see it, or will Becky go to this with you?
Becky
Like,
went to the first one with me.
okay. Well, I
She's
wasn't
down to.
sure
She was down. Yeah,
if you can make sure that you see it like opening weekend, then we can pod about it next week, and that'll be the next episode, a review, a brand spanking new review of a new 2025 movie, one of our most anticipated, Den of Thieves 2, Pantera.
Pantera. I don't know why
So
I
yeah,
was trying
we
like
think we can
bang
make that
drums.
happen for sure. You want to let
Yeah,
mom
yeah.
and dad know in advance, like
Well,
they
they're
gotta
probably
watch
gonna
the child.
they're probably gonna be doing basketball in the matinee era that I can see this. So it's either gonna be mom hanging out at our house late Friday, or Chuck and Gail will watch them sometime Saturday. But we'll plan on
We
Sunday night next week, next Sunday,
I'm
Den of
going
Thieves review.
okay. I'm going Thursday night and I will
Okay.
shut up about it till then. I won't even
Okay.
post a public review until we
Please
have
don't.
both seen it. I won't do anything to tamper or dampen your enjoyment. I will just say to get everybody hyped, the final trailer they put up on YouTube is one of the most electrifying things I saw in all of 2024.
Yes.
Uh, the best, yes, easily the best trailer I saw all year was for a movie that is now coming out in
You know what I
2025.
want to
Like,
do? I want to do
I,
we every day this week we need to put on our stories a countdown to it. I want to make this movie the best January release in the history of modern films.
we want to
I
make
want a
this the
easily
biggest,
$200,000 opening weekend off jump. A1 day one. Anything you could say about it, just like we're there.
we want to pull an Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, where the
Yes.
second film in the franchise outgrosses the entire theatrical run of the first film on the opening weekend.
Yes.
That's all we're asking.
That's all. And you know what? You got to be reminded about it every day
I
on
gotta be
Instagram.
honest with you, brother. I never thought I would be sitting here with you, my brother, in the year of our Lord 2025, like proselytizing about Den of Thieves. But here we are, dude. I drank the Kool-Aid on that movie. It fucking rules. I'm about to rewatch it tomorrow night. I'm
Hell yeah,
so
dude.
excited to revisit it. I'm gonna go see the new one on Thursday. I'm so pumped. I'm so unbelievably pumped. We deserve this. We
It's
deserve a
dude.
good January.
Dude, after all the shit we've gotten since that movie came out, a pandemic, a tumultuous election cycle, another tumultuous election cycle, a recession, fucking inflation, everything. We deserve this. This is
I have
for us.
I have every
Two actors
confidence.
strikes, writing strikes, all that shit. We deserve this. Just let us have this. The world can go to shit on January 20th, but let us have this right now.
Yes.
That's all I need.
Let us have this. So until until next time, I have been Noah,
And I have been Gavin.
and we've been the Blanchard brothers, and we'll see you when the cop goes gangster.
That's a terrible drum solo. I don't know why I did that. It's so stupid. Yeah,
I'll cut
when
it
the
before
cop
that.
goes,
I'll cut it
please,
before that.
please, please.